Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Om Shivaya Namaha, Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Om Shivaya Namaha, Namah Shivaya. Shankara Nama Shivaya, Girija Shankara Nama Shivaya,
Shambhu Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya.
Shambhu Shankara Nama Shivaya, Girija Shankara Nama Shivaya,
Shambhu Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya.
have come to a time where we're invited to relax, to deepen our awareness of this moment, to deepen our intention. Breathing in and letting go all that it's taken to bring us to this time and space. Here we are. Here we are in a room of like-minded people, in a room where love flows, at a time and a place we can set our intention, to be in love, expressing love, establishing love deep within ourselves. So as we go about our lives, we share love. And oftentimes, we have the opportunity to change our attitude, to change our circumstances. Oftentimes, change just happens. Yet the weather or a job, change happens. And so in this time, in this place, we can set an intention to embrace change, to deepen our connection with Source, to allow ourselves to let go of what has been, to embrace what is. I invite you into a place of expectancy and joy. Expectancy for what is to come and joy for what is in this moment. I invite you into that inner sanctuary. You can rest in the silence and listen. Listen for the guidance of Spirit, the still small voice, the divine ideas that flutter in on angels' wings. Being in the silence gives us time to renew, to heal, to rest. In the silence, there is a connection and a reminder of our truth. What a blessing. What a blessing it is to have quiet time. What a blessing it is to listen, to hear, to be. And so, we give thanks for the opportunity to remember truth, remember love, to remember we are created in the image and the likeness of the divine. And so it is. Amen. Now we continue our service with our Unity singers as they bless us with their music.
Implications come your way, but there's no need to hide your face. Implications come your way, but the truth remains. You know who you are. Situations always changing, but there's no need for rearranging. Situations always changing, but your heart remains in love. You're the only one that's got what you got. You know what is true. Just be you. Just be you. You know what is true. Just be you. Just be you. Be true to yourself, you were made just right. Let everybody see your bright white light. Be true to yourself, you were made just right. Let everybody see your bright white light. Be true to yourself, you're made just right. Let everybody see your bright white light. Be true to yourself, you were made just right. Let everybody see your bright white light. Take it up a little higher.
Just be you.
Take it up a little higher.
Just be you.
Take it up a little higher. Take it up a little higher.
Just be you.
Take it up a little higher.
Just be you.
Take it up a little higher. Take it up a little higher.
Just be you.
Did y'all know that Ron could rap? I didn't know you were a rapper until today. Well, I don't know. So, take off your mask. My mask ran away. Halloween. Halloween is a time where we wear a mask, where we pretend we're somebody else, where we hide the truth of who we are. And yet, I think that we do that sometimes rather unintentionally. That we go through life forgetting that it's all right to be vulnerable. So vulnerability is the path where we can find our way back to each other. How many of you have felt like vulnerability was a weakness? Yeah. How many of you have felt like you needed to hide some of the truth of who you are? Yeah. So that's kind of a common theme, and yet here at Unity, we're about uncovering that and letting people see the truth of who we are, because indeed it's so beautiful, right? It's so beautiful. Who you are is beautiful. Who you are is important. Who you are is worth allowing us to see. So being vulnerable is a way that we can find each other. Being vulnerable creates an opportunity for human connection. Don't you like that human connection? When you really see somebody, when you connect with them heart to heart, doesn't that feel good? Like it? That's what happens when we're vulnerable. So vulnerability breaks down barriers. So if we are of different beliefs of someone, vulnerable and become toward the other person. It's not about taking a person that's way over here and us way over here and coming and having them believe just as we do. But it's about coming into the middle and seeing differently. It breaks down barriers when we begin to see the truth of people. Vulnerability encourages vulnerability. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, others can be vulnerable. So there was a doctor who served in the military, and her helicopter was shot down. And as that happened, she was hurt quite seriously, broke a number of bones, had a head injury, was bleeding. And when she became conscious, there were soldiers standing over her with guns. They took her captive. And during that time that she was captive, she was tortured. She was beat. She was abused. They showed her what it would look like if they cut off her head. Horrible things she witnessed. Horrible. And so when she was finally released, and she was in a military hospital, and needless to say, they were working on her medically, but they came with psychiatrists to work on what she may have gone through and her post-traumatic stress that they all felt sure she had. But she said, I don't have post-traumatic stress. I have post-traumatic growth. I am a better doctor as a result of this. I am a better wife as a result of this. I'm a better mother as a result of this. I think I'm a better person as a result of having gone through this. I appreciate life as I have never appreciated it before. I appreciate what people go through when they're medically challenged. So they became pretty fascinated by this. They sent in a few more people. They began a study at the University of North Carolina to determine what this was all about. And what they learned was that 90% of us have some trauma in our life, and most of us overcome it. We have trauma, be it a car accident, be it something that happens in our life, and we're able to overcome it. You know, we're incredible beings. You know, I've often wondered about how people have overcome some of the stuff that they've overcome, and most times I find that they are truly experiencing life at a much deeper level because it's important to them now. So at the University of North Carolina, I'm not sure what I said first, but I'm now looking at my notes. At the University of North Carolina, they found that survivors discovered the healing process and that they had a deeper, greater personal strength, deeper relationships with the others, a new perspective and appreciation of life. And they began to call it this training where they could become resilient in a way that they had never done before. So what that training looked like was that, first of all, they practiced mindfulness meditation. They found that in that training, if they meditated, if they did the meditation, mindful meditation, they became less fearful. They experienced greater peace. Also, they were taught to practice self-compassion. Now, I know that y'all know what self-compassion means, and I know that we're all about practicing self-compassion in our lives. They also encouraged people to find meaning in their life, to find something that was important to them, and to begin to engage in that. They continued with teaching gratitude. So one of the pieces that they asked the people in this study to do was to write down 3 things a night they were grateful for. Now, you know, here in Unity, we always talk about writing down at least 5. And I say, if you can't come up with 5 things, come see me, and we'll come up with 5 things, because it's a pretty easy thing to do in the world that we live in today, that we have things to be grateful for. But these folks may have had a little more difficulty coming up with something to be grateful for. So they said 3 things. 3 things that you were grateful for. And then they pointed out that it was a group effort, that they needed to support each other in this effort to heal. It was an amazing process. It continues today to work with people who have had great trauma and making a difference and showing that they can heal, that they can have post-traumatic growth. Don't you like that? I just think that's great. So we can focus on, and in our society we've been focusing on the post-traumatic stress syndrome, and yet the majority of people are experiencing a growth. So do we want to focus? We're not diminishing what people are experiencing. We are acknowledging that, and we are saying there is a way to get to the place of growth. So we have love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on the cheek, turn to them the other also. And if someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. This is from Luke 6:27 to 31. I always like to add a disclaimer to this. That does not mean that we go back and put ourselves in harm's way. This does not mean that we allow people to just run over us. It does mean that we can step back and hold a higher vision for folks, that we can give from our heart to those. We can give of our prayers. We can be engaged in family promise, which is a wonderful way to reach out to people who are living on the streets to make a difference in their lives. Because we know that until people are really willing, it doesn't happen to the degree that we'd like to see it, or at least that's been my experience. So we give them the opportunity, we lift them up, we give them the choice. So in doing this, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and allow others to be vulnerable. Brene Brown says that vulnerability is our most accurate measure of courage. How many of you want to be courageous in your lives? How many of you are courageous in your lives? I know most of you are. You've walked through many things to show your courage. And so we want to be courageous, and that means being vulnerable. So what does that mean? It means taking off that mask and letting people see us where we hurt, see us where we want to hide, see us in those areas where we think we're flawed. We find that our intentional vulnerability is a tool in helping us to express our true spiritual nature. We can grow as we allow our intentional vulnerability to be a tool of so much more. So resilience training is a piece that is showing the world that we can be vulnerable, helping us find meaning, experiencing gratitude. And when I read through this article, I went, oh, that sounds like so many other things that we know in life. It sounds like 12-step programs. It sounds like pieces that have been put out to help us grow and to be more. It sounds like those programs that we have for self-growth, of spiritual growth, that we do these things, that we're grateful, that we're vulnerable, that we let people see the truth of who we are. This comes from an article from Mikkel Haas, and she is a solutions journalist. I like that. I think that's good, a solutions journalist. C.S. Lewis talks about being surprised by joy in a book called Surprised by Joy. And the title is a delightful play on the words that the name of his prospective bride was Joy. And it comes to me that it's a process of opening to love and to opening to joy, that we allow ourselves to grow more vulnerable as he allowed himself to grow more vulnerable. He was willing to take a risk in the direction of his emotional and spiritual growth. Are you willing to take a risk in your emotional and spiritual growth by being vulnerable, by taking off that mask, letting us see the truth? Oftentimes what I see when I see the truth is so much more than anyone could ever imagine. So much beauty. So somebody says to me, oh, but I'm flawed in this area. And I go, really? And I see that as one of your greatest strengths. So please allow yourself to continue to unfold in that area where you think there's something wrong with you. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation. It's creativity. It allows us to change. It allows us to change when we're vulnerable. So there is a gentleman in Knoxville, Tennessee. He came from Syria. He spoke no English. He was relocated there. as a result of being tortured and in great danger in his country. And so he came there. He was at the mosque. He said, I want a job. They said, here, we'll set you up in an apartment and we'll give you money. And he goes, but I want a job. And they said, well, we'll set you up in an apartment and we'll give you money. And he took a deep breath and he looked around and he went, how about if on Fridays I come in front of the mosque and I sell falafels? And they said, okay, that's fine, you can do that. I'll let you. So the first Friday he did this, his falafels sold out. So the next Friday he created some more falafels. And what happened? But he sold out. And the next Friday, more and more people came. And not only people from the mosque, but people who were in the area began to come. People who had no idea why he was doing this began to show up for his yummy falafels. All this time he's learning English, needless to say. So at some point, one of the people in the mosque said, so why are you doing this? And he said, I didn't come here to be a burden. I came here because I'm able to be free and I want to give back. I want to give back to this country that has welcomed me. And the businessman thought about it for a while and he went, you know, I have a building over here that has some empty space in it, and I'm willing to let you have it. I'm willing to let you come and serve falafels. So this young man said, absolutely, I will do it. I will do it, but I'm not going to just sell falafels. I'm going to reach out into the community and see how I can serve. I want to know what I can do. So he began to look around and he saw the homeless. And those homeless most often had some connection with drugs or alcohol. And he said, I'm willing. I'm willing to give you a chance to change. And he went into the mosque to mothers that were suffering and really striving to make it, but were having a tough time. And he gave them jobs, and they worked there. And people came, not only from the mosque, but all around downtown Knoxville. And they loved his falafels. But he never let a person come in that he did not go out and talk to them and welcome them and tell them how much being in America meant to him, how grateful he was for the opportunity to raise his children in a country that was free, to work in a place where he could go out and talk about what was important to him. For you see, he had spoken against the government, and that was why he had to leave. And yet here we can do that. We can do that. And we can allow ourselves the opportunity to vote. We can allow ourselves the opportunity to experience things that this man could not do. His name was Hassin, and he has Hassin Falafels in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, I read this story in Reader's Digest, and when I read it, it was about the most wonderful cities in the United States. When I saw Knoxville, Tennessee as one of the dots, I thought, most wonderful cities in the United States? I don't think so. And when I read what had happened and how the people loved him and reached out to him, the mayor came in. You know, he was recognized by the Lions Club as an important person in the community and making a difference. I thought, yes, this is a wonderful city that embraced this man. So we are charged with the opportunity to be, as he was, vulnerable. For he came to this country not even speaking English. And as he began to reach out to people, his English was very broken, and he continued to reach out. he continued to reach out. So take off the mask. Let us see those areas that you've been thinking were flawed. And for those of you who have your mask off, God bless you. I so appreciate it. For that's where your light shines the brightest. That's where you are the brightest. That's where you make the biggest difference in the world, is you embrace people that are different. People who come to be in a world free to love and to be in joy. Namaste. God bless you.